What's going on in the Sylvania housing market? Well, we're now in the fourth quarter, it's October, and we can look back at September and get an indication of where we've been and possibly get an indication of where we are going. So let's start with the number of homes sold. In September, when we look at the Sylvania School District, which is a very good approximation for the city and the township of Sylvania, we see that we sold all of 44 homes. Now this is incredibly low. When we look at last year, we sold 119 homes. Now month-to-month data can be a little noisy. When we close out the year, we will be down for 2023, just not quite as drastically as this September data would indicate. So then let's also put this in perspective to the pre-COVID years. We know COVID drove us into a strong seller's market. We've been in a strong seller's market. And where we were in 2019, at the time, we didn't necessarily think it was normal, but it was pre-COVID, and comparatively speaking, it was a little more normal than the current market. So on this next chart, I go back to September of 2019, and we are looking at 119 homes were sold in that month. Last year we're down, and this year we're down even more. And it's because there just aren't very many homes to sell. I believe that if we had more homes to sell, the market would absorb them. There's pent-up demand for buyers, even though they are constricted a lot by the new interest rates. We've seen interest rates on one index I follow go up above 7% 2 months ago and not go back down. And so now they're in the 7.5%, 7.6% range on this particular index for a 30-year fixed mortgage. So that has crimped the buyers. It's put some of them on hold. It's taken some of them out of the market. And it's made many of them reduce their expectations on what they can afford. But there's still a lot of buyers. There's still a lot of pent-up demand. And part of the problem with the interest rates, if you want to call it a problem, is the reason we don't have many sellers. We have sellers that may not be happy with their house. They've got a house, but they need to downsize, upsize, whatever, get rid of some of that 3 acres of yard. In the meantime, though, they've been able to get a 3 or 4% interest rate on their mortgage. And they've got that locked in for a number of years. And they're just unwilling to give that up for a new property at a 7.5% interest rate. And I understand that. But there could be some ways to mitigate that. And if you're in that situation, I would say you're in the golden handcuffs. You're handcuffed to your mortgage, even though you'd like to divorce your house. So in that situation, there are some equity moves that I would like to suggest. I've got a video on a couple options that might be worth it. And we can talk. I'd be happy to get into the details and see how we might be able to help you get into the house that really meets your needs. So given all these forces, what are prices doing? So on this chart, I'm showing a price per square foot, and what you're seeing are really good numbers for this year. We're actually up above $140 a square foot. Now these are for existing homes. If we were looking at new construction, we'd be around $200 a square foot. We're at a very high mark on the price per square foot. We're better than last year. And again, I say month-to-month data can be noisy. In this case, I think it exaggerates the price increase. I think we're going to end this year being Sylvania at about 3 or 4% above last year's prices. But look at 2019. 2019, we were at $103 a square foot. So the impact of COVID has driven prices. It's made it a strong seller's market for a number of years now. And when will that change? That's a great question. I think we're in a fairly stable situation. And what I would say is this might be an indicator when we look at the number of homes that are selling at or above the asking price. And for September, it was a very good month. Almost 2/3 of the homes sold at or above asking price versus about 58% September a year ago. And if we look back to 2019, which at the time we thought was very good, we had about 1/3 of the homes selling at or above asking price. So as long as this metric sticks, it indicates to me we're going to stay in a strong seller's market. And what I would tell you is the old timers in the real estate business would have been happy for years if they could get 10 or 20% of their homes to sell at or above asking prices. And for a number of years, it was normal to take about a 3% decrease on the asking price. And with good negotiations and everything else, many people were very satisfied with that. So prices can be variable. There are prices that are taking severe price cuts, but when we look at typical data, we're seeing a very strong market. So just to put an accent point on the strong market, here's a chart from Altos Research. It's for the zip code 43560, and it indicates that we are still in a strong seller's market. Now this is for the zip code, so that would include the city and some of the township, but not all of the township. But I think it applies. It applies to really much of the area, including the township and the greater Toledo area. It's just a strong seller's market. So I hope you found this helpful. If there's anything I can do, please reach out. Please subscribe. And in the meantime, if we don't talk soon, I hope you go slay some dragons.